Alright guys, so I apologize for little technical difficulties. It's split into two videos, but let's take a look at some examples now. So example A says -4 is less than x minus 2, which is less than 3. Well, I see, first thing I need to do, find the variable. Well, here it is in the middle. What's being done to it? Well, they are subtracting 2. So I'm going to create my little to-do to undo list here. So the first, or the one and only thing that they're doing to the variable is subtracting 2. So I only have one step to solve this. And my step to solve this is to add 2 to both, or to all 3 spots. Because whatever I do to the middle, I also have to do to the left, and I also have to do to the right. So there is my step to solve. So let's go in and let's do that. So I'm going to add 2 underneath where they subtracted 2. I'm going to add 2 on the right side, and I'm going to add 2 on the left side. Well, when I add 2 to where they were subtracting 2, those cancel out, and I'm left with just the x. Now, because I'm adding, that does not change the inequality symbols, so they're going to stay the same. And then I've got -4 plus 2 on the left side. Well, that is -2, because 4 bad guys, 2 good guys. Bad guys win by 2. And then 3 plus 2 on the right side, that is 5. So my simplified compound inequality is -2 is less than x, which is less than 5. So now I need to go in and graph it. So I need to choose a number between -2 and 5. I'm going to go with 1. So 1 right here. I'm going to count by 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3. All right, so now I've got it labeled. Then I need to come back to my two numbers and draw my circles. So at -2 and at 5. Then look, are there any portion of an equals to sign? No, there is not, so they are not filled in circles. So last step, choose a number to the left or to the right. Right, I choose the number, oops, forgot to put my 0 in there. There we go. All right, I choose the number, let's go with 0. That's in the middle here. I want to choose a number to the left of this point, to the right of that point, so in the middle. So I choose 0. So I've got -2 is less than 0, which is less than 5. Well, is that true? Well, -2 is less than 0, and 0 is less than 5. So this is true. So that means these two circles are going to be connected. Now remember, in the last lesson I told you that compound and inequalities, which is what we're dealing with here, one inequality with two inequality symbols, are always going to look like this on a graph. So if you ever end up with arrows going in opposite directions, something went wrong. So make sure you can use your test point to prove it, but make sure your graph ends up looking like that. 2 circles with a connecting line. All right, well, let's take a look at example B. I'd encourage you to try this one on your own, then check your answer with mine. So example B says -3 is less than -2x plus 1, which is less than or equal to 9. All right, well, first step, find your variable. Well, here it is in the middle, where it always will be on these compound and inequalities. Figure out what's being done to it. So I'm going to create my little to-do to undo list. I see that there's a -2 involved, and I see that they added 1. Well, what happened first? Well, the -2 is closest to the x, so that happened first, and that -2 is multiplying the x. So they multiplied by -2. The second thing they did after that is they added 1 to it. So again, if I was just plugging a number in for x, I would multiply it by -2 and then add 1. That would be the steps I would do to simplify it. So that's what they were doing first. So I need to undo those using the inverse operation, so the opposite thing, and then I need to do it in reverse order. So a little crisscross with my arrows here. So instead of adding 1, I'm going to subtract 1. And instead of multiplying by -2, I'm going to divide by -2. So there are my 2 steps to solve. Now remember, when I go in to do these, I have to do them in the middle here, but I also have to do them to the right and to the left. So there's 3 spots that it has to happen in. So my first step was to subtract 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 in the middle, subtract 1 on the right, and subtract 1 on the left. So when I do that, adding 1 and subtracting 1, those cancel. I'm left with just -2x in the middle. Now all I did was subtract, so that does not change the inequality symbols, so they're going to face the same direction. On the right, I've got 9 minus 1, which is 8. On the left, negative 3 minus 1. Well, those are both bad. So 3 bad guys, 1 more bad guy shows up, so that makes 4 bad guys, so negative 4. So step 1 is done. Now I need to divide by negative 2. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 in the middle, and I need to divide by negative 2 on the right, and divide by negative 2 on the left. Well, when I divide negative 2 by negative 2, those just cancel. All I'm left with is the x in the middle. Now I'm dividing, so I need to check, do I flip my inequality symbols? Well, I'm dividing by a negative, so that causes these inequality symbols to flip the other direction. So they're now going to look like that. Well, on the left side, I've got negative 4 divided by negative 2. Let's start with the numbers. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Bad thing happening to a bad guy is good. On the right side, I've got 8 divided by negative 2. Again, start with the numbers. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Good thing happening to a bad guy, that's bad. So there we go. I've now got my simplified compound inequality. So now we need to graph it. So let's choose some numbers between 2 and negative 4. Let's start with 0. I'm going to count by 2's, skipping every other dash. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. So I've got my numbers 2 and negative 4 on there, so that makes it easy. So I need to draw my circles on them at negative 4 and 2. Check, are there any portions of equals 2 signs? Well, there's not by 2. But there is by the negative 4, so the negative 4 is filled in, but the 2 is not. Then last step, choose a number in between. I choose 0 and plug it in to see if it's true. So 2 is greater than 0, which is greater than or equal to negative 4. Well, 2 is greater than 0, and 0 is greater than negative 4, so that is true. So again, it is a line connecting the two circles. Reiterate again, that will always happen with compound and inequality. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. All right, well, example C, I'd encourage you to try this one on your own, then check your answer with mine. So example C says negative 3 is less than x plus 1, which is less than 5. So find my variable. There it is in the middle. What are they doing to it? Well, the only thing that I see happening with it is that they are adding 1 to it. They added 1 to the x. So I need to undo that by subtracting 1. So there's my step to solve. Pretty simple, not a lot to this one. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to subtract 1 from the middle. I've got to subtract 1 from the right and subtract 1 from the left. Well, when I do that, adding 1 and subtracting 1, that cancels. I'm left with just x in the middle. Now, all I was doing was subtracting, so that does not change my inequality symbols. On the right, I've got 5 minus 1, which is 4. On the left, I've got negative 3 minus 1. Those are negatives and negatives, so that becomes negative 4. 3 bad guys, 1 more bad guy show up, so 4 bad guys in the end. All right, well, I've simplified my compound inequality, so now I need to graph it. So let's go in. I've got negative 4 and 4, so I'm going to start with the number 0, count by 2's, so 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And then I need to draw my circles at negative 4 and 4. Now, no portion of an equals 2 sign on either inequality symbol, so no filled in circles. Then choose a number in the middle. It should work out to be true, but let's make sure. So I choose 0. So negative 4 is less than 0, which is less than 4. Well, negative 4 is less than 0, and 0 is less than 4. So that is true. So again, 2 circles with a line connecting them would be what my graph looks like. All right. Oh, and I apologize, you couldn't see that graph at the end. There you go. So again, circles at negative 4 and 4. Then I did a test point of 0, a number in the middle. Turns out it was true, so line connecting them. All right, well, if you have additional questions on these compound and inequalities and how to solve them, please let me know. Big thing is, your variable is going to be in the middle. Find it, figure out what's being done to it, then undo it in the reverse order, just like we've learned. And remember, when you undo it, you have to undo it in the middle and on both of the outsides, right? Pay attention if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, because that switches inequality symbols, right? So make sure you're paying attention to that. But otherwise, this isn't too much different than what you've been doing. You've learned all of these aspects. We're just putting it all together. Again, if you've got questions, let me know. Otherwise, continue on in the chapter.